Okay, so big project today, Third Coast Septic. Got my man out here, about to put a system in, and we're gonna be putting it in for the RV. The tank's gonna be way over there, 1,000-gallon tank, right?
1,000-gallon tank, 100 feet of drain field.
100 foot of drain field. The
Two drops.
connections, 2 drops, one right here, and then we're gonna put one right here as well. So this should be able to handle anything I throw it up from an RV perspective, right?
All day long.
Perfect. Very cool. And it's going to be a concrete tank too, right?
Yep. 1,000-gallon two compartment with a 5-inch tank lid on it. So it's almost traffic rated as it comes.
That's awesome. And it'll be way up here, so it's not going to be in my little driveway area here. It's going to be really good. So they're going to bring a skid steer, mini excavator, all that good stuff.
Yep. And this tank should be here probably about 1:30. We'll have it set, and then I think we're hoping to get an inspection at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
It should be completely finished and done.
That's awesome, man. Thank you. All right, so I got Nick here again from Third Coast Septic, and we thought this was a really good opportunity to kind of educate folks on septic systems, because the cabin has a septic system. We're putting another septic system out here, but these are 2 different types of systems, right? That one is an aerobic, is that what it's called?
Yes, that's an aerobic treatment unit, which is basically a wastewater treatment plant. This is just a traditional anaerobic gravity flow system.
Okay, what do you typically see in like RV parks and things like that?
You'll see the difference with RV parks, especially on septics, is you're looking at the load, and with RVs, you're pulling the plug and you're letting a whole dose of 40, 60 gallons at a time versus a gradual feed out of a house. So those systems are designed typically a little bit different, with larger tank capacity to handle that big.
And there's a lot of
rush.
people that could be draining at the same time
especially
too.
with people showing up, unloading, and particularly when leaving on that last day, Sundays,
Okay.
when everybody's checking out. That's when they're getting hit
All
real hard.
Now, this guy's been doing septic systems like generationally for a long time, haven't you?
Generation, yeah. Every
Yep.
license, from engineering it to taking care of them.
Yeah, I mean, you guys do a lot of the big subdivisions, communities, as well as you said you've done RV parks
Yep.
and things like that before.
Yep.
So you're the guy to know. So what is, I guess, what's specific to our unit, or at least how we're going to be using it, that helped you come up with the design and the flow? I know we originally started with an 80-gallon per day system,
Right.
and that was based off of light usage on an RV on the property.
RVs are sized at 40 gallons. Houses, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 180 gallons. A 3-bedroom house, 240. Goes upwards, every bedroom another 60 gallons a day.
Okay.
So RVs, they're sized real small because the real low flow fixtures, super small water heater. It's not like you're going to be in there taking a 30-minute hot shower. It's just not going to happen.
And there's only
in an
one
RV.
shower typically.
Right. So that's why our chart has it sized down to
Okay.
only 40 gallons a day.
And we're going to do 150, right? Just to be
Yes.
safe on our system?
Yeah, we're basically doubling it. And again, the bigger tank can handle that bigger onrush, because that tank can be sized for a 4-bedroom house.
Okay.
So it can go up to 360 gallons a day.
Yeah, we're doing a 1,000-gallon tank though, so that
Right.
thing's huge.
So it's more than adequate for a couple RVs.
Okay, perfect. And again, we're going to tie into it in 2 different areas, so we can have an RV parked right here, and we can have, of course, the one right here. The other part that's really nice is the fact that we're not going to have the holding tanks closed. We're going to have them connected, opened up, so as you take a shower, the water essentially just flows right in.
That's good for the gray water. You don't want to really do that on your black water tank.
You want it to build up,
You want
so
it to
all
build
goes
up,
through.
right? Otherwise,
Yep.
it causes that little pyramid.
Yep, just like we're doing it in an actual. You want some liquid in the tank,
Yes.
pretty much. So before you empty your black tank, just like you would do at an RV resort, you want to keep your black tank closed, and then typically you'll let your gray tank on the last day fill up with your shower stuff and everything else to rinse the whole tube out.
Yep.
So from a piping perspective, what are we using here?
Just going to use a 3-inch Schedule 40 for the connection from the RVs to the tank, and then a thinner wall for out in the drain field. We can use an SDR 35 for the drain field, but we do a thick wall for the connection from the facilities to the tank. That's standard. You can do an SDR 26, but we're doing a thicker Schedule 40.
Good deal. And just as a disclaimer, you didn't even know I had a YouTube channel
No.
until just this minute.
Yeah.
So the quote and everything you gave me was a regular customer quote, nothing special. And again, it was just basically, come out here, he quoted, then I came out here with the camera and I'm like, you mind if I record you so I can get you on the channel? He's like, sure. And anything else worth noting? Let's say there's other people locally that want to have a system installed. Your lead time is insanely good whenever you have equipment nearby, right?
Yeah, that just happened, because typically right now we're booking into June and July.
Yep. But they happen to have equipment in the area, and they said, you know what, we're about to move to another job, but we can kind of do your project beforehand. So we had like a week.
Yeah, you
notice
got lucky because we were taking this week easy. Usually we do 2 a week, but this week we kind of took off to just kind of get caught up on service checks, because on those aerobic systems we have to go out there and do continual maintenance on them.
Gotcha.
This one you don't. You just really want to have it pumped out every 2 to 3 years is recommended.
Okay.
But yeah, we
Very
got
cool.
lucky on the time.
So how do you like the, what is this, a 450 or 550?
450. Yeah.
Power stroke. How's it been working out for you?
Oh, it's great. It's great. Pulling the excavator and the trailer, we're about 10 tons. So I've got an extra 13,000 pounds. I just want to be on the safe side and have no issues pulling whatever. So it really works great.
So it beats you to death when it's empty, I imagine. But when you're towing something heavy, it's probably a little smoother.
Under load. Lot smoother under load. But can't beat it. It does the job, and nice 12-foot long bed on the truck to put pipe and materials on, and nice nurse tank, 80 gallons, so I can fill up the equipment when I need to.
What's your travel radius to put a system in if someone in another area wants you to come out and do it?
Typically we're around 60 to 80 miles away from the house, which, I mean, county-wise, Nueces, San Patricio, Aranjuez, Jim Wells, Clayburgh, typically those are it. But,
yep,
I mean,
this is kind of a proof of that. I mean, you'll come out here and do it.
Yeah.
Now, another question I have for you is, do you mind if I say how much that I'm paying for this system?
No, go ahead.
Because I know prices fluctuate, things change, and you know, COVID and all that stuff has definitely put a hurting on supply chain management. But so originally the 80 gallon per day system we were going to put in, 80, right? That's the original.
Right.
It was going to be $5,150 in that range.
Correct.
Then I called him up and I said, you know what? Maybe we should go with something just a little bit bigger, just to kind of future-proof ourselves a bit. And as we start to renovate the cabin, this might actually be our residence for a while. So I opted for 150 gallons per day, and it bumped up to $6,000.
Right.
So yeah, so if you guys want to kind of get a roundabout estimate, and that's of course going to vary from different parts of the country and different parts of the world. You could be in Australia or the UK, and of course that pricing is going to be entirely different, and your codes and all those other things may be entirely different as well.
Correct.
All right, so good deal. And again, this system isn't going to require any power or any water to be pumped into it. The water that's going into it's coming from the RV only, whereas the aerobic system is going to require power because, like you said, it's an actual treatment plant.
Right. We're moving parts on it. You got 2 pumps, your discharge pump, your compressor, and then your control box, which houses the alarm. The main thing on septics, the #1 rule is the soil is going to dictate what system works.
Oh, yeah, that's what you're telling me. So out here, it's pretty much all sand and sandy loam.
This is Class 1B soil. Class 2, Class 3 will work for this system. Once you get to a Class 4 clay, that's when you're looking at an aerobic or a LPD, low pressure dosing system.
And that's essentially how much water the ground can absorb. Because if it's too dense, then it's not going to drain out of the drain field.
1 gallon in, 1 gallon out. Once that soil is so dense and doesn't let that gallon out, then you start to have that backup.
Yeah, that's nasty.
So different loading rates for every soil.
Real quick, let's kind of walk through the property here, and you can show us where everything's going. So this runway right here is 100 feet long. The RV takes up a little bit less than half of it. They're going to bring the Mini X in.
Basically the drop right in here, trench more or less 3 to 4 feet off the fence line, putting a second drop, and then the tank will be 5 feet off the property line. Tank's about 6 by 10 feet dimensions, and then the drain field will go out towards those trees and fence.
You know, when you recommended a concrete tank or a cement tank, I at first was kind of wondering why, but then I started doing some research, and I found out that if you have water in a plastic tank and the plastic tank isn't completely full, it'll pop out of the ground and you'll float the tank. And you can even do that with concrete tank if it's not full.
We've had 20,000 pound concrete tanks jump out of the ground. Not fun.
That is crazy.
So you always put some water in it, make sure you got weight in it, and once it gets seated into the ground and everything settles around it, it's not so much of an issue with the concrete tanks.
Got it. And it's about the top of the tank is about 6 inches underground,
6
you
inches
said?
below ground, and that puts the inlet about 18 inches underground. And we've got about an 80-foot run, which we've got about, say, 10 inches of drop from there to here, so everything will be underground.
Nice
and
slope.
You want the drain field as shallow as possible to really take advantage of the evaporation. That's how the system works.
So we're gonna have some really lush grass growing here pretty soon, and self-fertilized. So the tank is gonna go about here, I think, right?
Right.
And real quick, something I had to consider that I didn't know. Some people might say, well, why don't you put the tank here? Well, first of all, it's got to be 5 feet off of the fence. Secondly, it's got to be 50 feet away from the well. and the well is right underneath that windmill. So 50 foot would have put it either right in the recreational area off to the side here, or under the back of the RV, or in an area where there was utility and we'd have to run additional piping. So it just didn't make sense. So I was like, okay, I don't want to interfere so much with the runway area here. I'd like to have this as open as possible, simply because if we put another RV here, we need the room to be able to back it on. So that's why the tank is going to go here, and it's in an area where we're really not going to develop anything. And then the drain field will kind of, does the drain field have to be straight, or are you going to curve it around?
However we need to. We're going to want to stay 10 feet away from the trees, so we'll probably do 3 runs to break up the 100 feet. So we stay away from the trees, and probably go maybe towards that feeder with one of them. But we can curve it. It's a flexible pipe. Like you said, tank 50 feet from the well, but your drain field has to be 100 feet away from the well.
Okay, so
those
this
are the
is perfect then
distance.
for what we're trying to do.
Unless your well is pressure cemented in up to 100 feet, then you can get the drain field up to 50 feet.
Okay.
So there's lots of little rules within TCEQ guidelines that dictate all of this.
And it's so good that you actually know this stuff. There's a lot of folks, like sales reps for companies, that come out and they'll say, yeah, we can do this. Then the engineer comes out and the inspector comes out and they're like, no, you can't. And you have to reformulate everything. You're the engineer,
right.
So you know everything about what you're doing.
Sanitarian, so that allows us to do the designs, and I know the rules.
That's very cool, man. Well, anyways, we're going to kick it off. We're going to get this thing going. I might end up turning this into more than one video, simply because this is more the educational side, and then the second video will be the actual installation side. So guys, now's a great time if you're interested in putting in a septic system for your RV to subscribe to the channel. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. Check out Nick and Third Coast Septic if you are in the area and you need a septic system. I really appreciate it. Next video, we're also going to talk about your RV, because he just bought an RV, and it's a cool one. All right, guys, we'll talk to you again soon.